So what was step one?
Eight steps.
No, step one of the 8 steps is what I mean.
Qualifying questions.
Qualifying questions, yeah, and if they're qualified, you don't have to go over the first 7 questions, you start at question 8, you upsell, find out what they're looking for, see if you can simplify it a bit, ask them if they're looking, if they find the right place when we go out, you're ready to buy it, they say yes or no, if they say yes, move towards the buyer services. So here's our buyer services. This is the part here, like your marketing plan with the sellers, that with the buyer services, if you build enough value, they want to sign. Same as on the listing side, when you build enough value with the marketing plan, they not only want to sign, but they never ask you to cut your commissions. So, here's the thing, this is it. This is where you say, okay, let's go into the buyer services, and you start talking about them. But remember these components. We've said them a number of times. What does FBCT stand for? Fact, benefit, close, takeaway. What are the 4 salesmanship ingredients that we mentioned in lesson 4? Well, let me tell you, just to remind you, that's where you make sure you say people's names. That's where you make sure that you ask some questions, use visuals, and use the right facial and voice inflections. You remember that? That's the 4 salesmanship ingredients. Don't put, just so you know, is everybody take a look up here for a second. Everybody looking?
Yes. Yeah.
See where it says the 4 salesmanship ingredients?
Yeah.
This is not them. Okay, what are they again?
Use names.
Use the names.
Use of facial expressions. Use of
F&V,
Visuals.
visuals, and questions. Okay? So I'm saying, use the 4 salesmanship ingredients. So say their names, use visuals, have the right face and voice inflections, ask questions. Plus, when you're saying every benefit, you got to tell them, every fact I mean, you got to tell them what the benefit is to them, every time. Otherwise, they won't sign. Sounds good?
Yes.
So let's see what we do for them. Do we do these first few things for them? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, in fact, we actually did it already. So when we're telling them that this is stuff we do, there's some stuff already done. So I'll let you know some of the buyer services. A couple of things we've already started with you. The pre-approval process, we've got it arranged, and it's through our in-house financing. And I want you to write this down on the left-hand side somewhere so that you maybe put a star on some of the benefits to remind you to say this little saying every once in a while. So tell me when you're ready to write it down on the blank page.
Yes.
Yeah.
All these services are no cost to the buyer. What did I say?
All these services are no cost to the buyer.
Okay, so the first thing we do for you, we started already, is we've got pre-approval arranged, and we got in-house financing. That doesn't cost you nothing. So put a little, like, you know how you put a star beside that saying, and then over the next page, everywhere where there's a star, it reminds you that's where you say it?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So do that, okay? So, and then you say a couple more things. Always say 1 or 2 at a time, okay? We've got a face-to-face meeting we already started, and we're going to explain our agency relationship. And again, there's no cost for you at all. I just want to make sure you're clear on that. Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer? They'll say, no, none of this costs. Well, no, you don't have to put any money up. You don't have to put a deposit down, and there's nothing. Okay? We just do these things for you. And you notice I said agency relationship explained. Now, according to the law, like we were talking, a few of us were talking at the break, according to the law in this region, you have to explain your fiduciary duties and get them to acknowledge if they want to hire or not hire. That has to be done before you do anything. In this area too, for your buyer agency form, which is about 5 pages, you could get away with it without using it to go to showings, which I don't recommend for sure. But you have to get it filled out before you write an offer. Now, one of the things, you may have heard this before, Rika is actually watching something. And there's some more rules coming soon too, because a lot of people are still doing real estate the wrong way. They're meeting people at properties and they're not doing agency. And Rika's, the Real Estate Council is having a tough time enforcing it. But through audits, some brokers have told me that the council has been asking to see the buyer agency with the offer to purchase, because that's mandatory what they're supposed to do, what you're supposed to do. And guess what they're looking at? The dates. They're looking at the dates. And they're trying to find a way to enforce this So they will be coming up with fines or, you know, what do you call it? What do they call it when they take away your license for a bit? Suspension, yeah. I don't know why I couldn't think of that name, or that word. So there's all this stuff they're trying to do, and there's still realtors making sure they don't do it the right way or the best way. And so that's why all the rules keep changing, because they keep on trying to find a way to enforce it. So do yourself a favor. Do it exactly this way. Get them to come in the office, ask them the questions, get them pre-approved, go over all the buyer services, and then try to get them to sign the forms, and then it's all done. And you don't have to worry about ever getting into any trouble, or worse yet, what happened with me on the one time where I didn't get them to sign? They went back and bought one I showed. Man, that's really gonna upset you. So it doesn't even matter if you're not supposed to do this or that according to the rules. It's the fact that you should do it to be able to make sure that you're running your business properly and you're not driving yourself crazy, right? So you'll say to these people again, we've got our face-to-face meeting here. In a minute I'm going to get into the forms and explain our agency relationship for you. And then we'll do, if we decide to work with each other, you hear the words, where I say if we decide to work with each other, it's a mutual decision, yes?
Yes.
Then what we'll do is I'll do an MLS property search. We'll put your criteria in the database and cross-reference it with what?
Every listing.
Every listing in the city. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Is that a true statement?
Yes.
Yeah. And then what we'll do is we'll set up the showings. We'll show you a property that you called on, and we'll show you other potential properties as well. Sounds good? And then if you like something, like I said, we'll come back to the office. We'll work out a purchase price for you on the buyer cost sheet, including monthly payments. I mentioned that to you earlier. And I'll even pull out some comparables. And again, I mentioned it a couple times. No cost. Sounds good? And then we write an offer for you and negotiate on your behalf. Follow through until possession. And we have the after-sale follow-up program. And folks, underneath your buyer services on that page, write this. What does it say? All together now?
All these services are no cost to the buyers.
Isn't that, it's important to let them know that, yes?
Yes.
You know? So, I'm just going to back up while some of you are still writing. There's a fair bit to write, so I understand. We're on the phone, we convert it into a face-to-face meeting. We bona fide by getting pre-approval started. Hopefully it's completed before we see them. We also send our pre-listing brochure. Sounds good? Now they come to the office, best place to meet anybody, an investor, a buyer, a relative that's a buyer, no matter who it is, meet them at the office is the best place. Sounds good? You're in a place where it's more professional. Go to the front door, meet them, smile, shake their hand, take them to the client room, sit down, talk about anything but real estate for 2-3 minutes, then open up your book, and the first page is the 8-step buyer process. And you say, let me tell you what we're going to do here to help you with your plans. Number one, I have some qualifying questions to verify, and I have the pre-approval letter already from the bank, so I'll tell you about that. Then from there, we will show you our buyer services. And if you like the buyer services and you like my company, then what we'll do is we'll explain the forms and we'll make a mutual decision. I'll let you know if I can help you, and you let me know if you want to hire me. Should we decide to work with each other, in step 4, we're going to go and put your criteria in a database, and we're going to cross-reference and find some listings for us to go look at. After that, we'll set up the showings. We'll go out and look at them together. We'll look at 4 or 5, then we'll come back to the office, and we'll see if you're interested in any of them. If there's one you're interested in, we'll do a buyer cost sheet based on full price, just so you get an idea. And if you want to move forward, we can negotiate an offer for you and present on your behalf, and then we have a follow-up program. So let me get started with the questions. You turn the page. You say these first 7 questions I don't have to ask you because I got the pre-approval right here. Sounds good?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you the next questions. Let me start at question 8. So you go to question 8, and you confirm that the price they want to do, then you want to upsell, then you want to see what more features they want in their home, then you want to ask them if they find something, would they be ready to move on it today, and then they say yes, then you say, okay, let me move towards the buyer services. Then you go to the buyer services, you always tell them what's in it for them, and you go take your time with this, because when you get to the end, you say there's no cost to the buyer. Any questions? they may say, no, that's all good. And you say, okay, so let's do this. Let's take out the forms here and you open up your folder, and what color is it?
Yellow.
No,
Blue.
blue,
Blue.
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 Blue for buyer.
So, agency, you gotta explain it. Now, for anybody that still tries to avoid explaining it, like, think about this. What was this form created for? Consumer relations, what was it created for?
Explain.
But what's on it? The fiduciary duties. These are everything we're about, you guys. This is everything we're about. All right? I don't know what's going on over there, but you guys okay? Maybe we should flip the people around a little bit, because I'm actually finding it distracting, to be honest. So, want to turn that off for a sec? Yeah.